What's the scariest moment in a video game you've ever had? The moment in Silent Hill 3 when you're in the office buildings. In of the rooms you find a mannequin, and when you leave the room you hear an ear-piercing scream. Go back to where the mannequin is and its head is split in half with blood spilling out. Effing crap scared me to death when I played it the first time. Edit. Stupid autocorrect on my phone changed effing to ducking initially. I just corrected that. I remember playing Silent Hill 3 in my early teens one night during a thunderstorm. I had just gotten past that point and was already rattled when all of a sudden the power blinks out. For half a second all I can hear in the darkness is the pounding rain and thunder before the power comes back. I go to turn my PS2 back on and notice that the TV never turned off. Only the PlayStation did. Odd. They're both on the same power strip. I load back in and continue playing, continuing to get creeped out as I immerse myself. About 10 minutes later there's another flash outside and the power blinks off again. This time, the TV shuts off but the PS2 stays on. Still on the same power strip. At this point I am fully wigged out by the oddness of the whole thing, so I throw in the towel, call it a night and shut everything down, double checking to be sure they're actually off. I don't remember what it was, but Silent Hill made me not want to play any more horror games. I think it's SH1 with the little girl singing on the wall in the fog. I turned it off and decided those games weren't for me. Like the first level, those mummified dudes are lurching around in the quiet, eerie fog. Okay, wonderfully creepy. I kill one and go to check it out and it starts spasming loudly. OMFG. In FEAR, when you turn to climb down a ladder and boom, there's the scary girl. YouTube link. Oh good, someone else who remembers that particular sphincter trigger. I could have pressed a turd into a diamond right at that moment. The amount of absolute silence in that game was terrifying. I could deal with jump scares, but the sense of dread as you wandered through the silent parts waiting for the hammer to fall. Yikes. God, I love that game. Needs a remaster so bad. A few come to mind. The first 3 hours of my first playthrough of RE7, before you learn the game's tricks and how to fight back, could only do it 30 minutes at a time. The giant head in the hospital hallway in Silent Hill 4 was just so out of nowhere and it appears at random. The only jump scare in eternal darkness, truly earned. Dude, RE7 and only doing 30 minutes at a time, I was right there with you. Took me a bit to get over the anxiety of a game. When I first played Amnesia, The Dark Descent, I spent a significant portion of the game just sort of pushing through everything with the attitude that it's just a game, it can't hurt you, just do it. But there was this one moment when I was in a sewer part of the game where I sort of knew I had to cross through a particular area where I could hear a monster lurking, and there weren't that many places to hide as I went through. I remember being gripped by this primal fear that I've never really felt in a game before, like I could pretty much feel it in the pit of my stomach. Once you've seen behind the curtain and you understand how the game works, it becomes a whole lot less scary, but the first time through, when the game was just full of so many unknowns, it was definitely an experience. My friends and I gave up in Amnesia right around the elevator collapse scene. You get out of the elevator and the only way out is through the dark crypt/jail/torture chambers with the creepy iron doors, and the door to them is covered by debris. You know that it is the only way out, and as you pull the debris away from the door you start hearing distant screams and sounds from behind the door. It is the only way through, but you recoil at the thought of going in. We gave up not long after. That and the water monster scene where you are trying to escape. That was awful the first time around. The water monster was what I thought of when I read the post title. I never played that game alone. Even in a group there were times we had to turn the lights on and take a break. Doing some exploring in Stalker when I find an empty building. Outside is chaos, but here it's quiet, doesn't feel right. Look down one dark hallway and see something at the end. Cautiously inch forward and see that it's a dead body. Don't even bother looting it before losing my nerve and turning back, only for a bloodsucker to appear right in front of me. Had to pause and take a break for a while before emptying my mag into that walking bullet sponge nightmare fuel. I cannot wait to see what Stalker 2 will bring. The zombie dogs in Resident Evil jumping through the windows. God damn. Especially when the game lets you walk past the windows once or twice before they come in. My friend and I played this together and were both surprised by this at the same time. Then later his girlfriend got to the same spot and we were both there to watch. It was such a satisfying moment to catch her surprise. I have no specific moment associated with this game, but my brother used to play it and I'd watch it. Well, it gave me horrific nightmares from the age of 8 until 9. My bro helped prolong it by purposely scaring me at various points in time. My parents got sick of me waking them up about the toothpaste zombie that was chasing me across a hospital at 3 a.m. They told me I'm not allowed to watch Resident Evil anymore. Then they told my bro, who usually played it Saturday a.m., that he can keep playing it at that time if he wanted, but then he'd have to wake up with me at all hours of the day and night to deal with my nightmares. My brother started playing Resident Evil after I went to bed at 8 p.m. My nightmares slowed down 6 months later. Edit. Thanks for the silver. The first Dead Space will always have a special place in my heart. Some of the jump scares, plus the regeneration monster had me crafting myself. Worked on Dead Space 1, 2, and 3. Makes me happy I didn't have to scroll far at all to see this. That's so cool. What was your role in the creation of those games? Janitor. Is that the one with the eye needle thing? That's Dead Space 2 and towards the end of the game. Dead Space 1 is the first time we meet Isaac and start to understand more of the mystery behind the Ishimura and monsters aboard the ship. Dead Space 2 is more about the history behind the monsters aboard the ship in the first game, and that is partly why the eye needle thing is in it. Both are excellent. Dead Space 2 was definitely scary, but it was more like horror survival. On Zealot mode, basically anything 3-shots you, and some of the necros have insane reaction times, not to mention ammo is extremely expensive and you get almost nothing from enemy drops. The scariest part was returning to the Ishimura. It's pitch black and there's almost no space to move around. There is absolutely no enemies for like 15 whole minutes, but a lot of unnerving sounds and audio tapes. And then, out of that huge pile of crates, a huge effing monster. Literally screamed like a lil bitch and had to pause. I just recently made it to there, my first playthrough, and the first moment I felt I wasn't going to be ambushed on the Ishimura was about 2 seconds before he jumped out. The only thing worse was the entire room full of crates and charging enemies. The first time I realized they were peeking out at me, I just decided to start using my entire inventory of mines. In Half-Life 2, I recall a point where the game draws your attention up some stairs. As you start to ascend, the stairs break and collapse, dropping you in front of some zombies. Playing late at night, it totally got me. Ravenholm. For me, it was halfway through it, when I started to notice that the zombies, the human heads underneath, were independently talking from the zombie sounds. They are in a perpetual state of confusion, panic and pain. When I realized a dying one let out this sobbing thank you, I got a little freaked out and had to take a break. There's also that other great moment where you think you are safe on a building roof, but then the gutters start shaking as the fast zombies climb up to attack you. That was awful. I was so on edge during all of Ravenholm when that priest fella tosses you the shotgun. I panicked and literally launched it out of the bounds of the map. That game was great. There's also before the final version of the game. YouTube link. Very glad that was cut. Heart probably wouldn't have been able to take it. That's why we don't go through Ravenholm. I know I can get a few people to go back. I just mentioned that there's an achievement for beating the level using only the gravity gun. That was such an awesome weapon and a fantastic game. I spent hours launching bad guys into those energy fields and watching them disintegrate. HL2 was one of the all-time greatest in my book. There was a great moment like this in The Last of Us, 2, when the stairs collapse below you and you fall into a basement with a bunch of the hardest to kill creatures suddenly at your heels, absolutely no orientation of where you were and how to get out, and no time to prepare your weapons and gear. Scared the hell out of me and probably my favorite moment in the game. What a rush. Plus you're chest deep in water. I don't know why. But that creeps me out even more. I guess I was imagining all the zombies that could have been underwater. PT, don't touch that dial now, we're just getting started. Sudden cut to silence with Lisa's ghastly visage right in front of you. I mean, honestly, the whole thing is a heebie-jeebies simulator. I was stoked about that game when I found out that it was by Kojima and Del Toro, but then I found out that the imagery was also being designed by Junji Ito. I will never forgive Konami for canceling the full product. As a massive fan of Junji Ito and horror in general, this game is all I ever wanted, and now all we're left with is playthroughs on YouTube. I can't believe it was cancelled. The person who got a camera motto "find out she's always behind you" doesn't help my memories of that game. Web link. I don't know if I want to see that. Edit, big brain move by me watching that video while in bed in the dark. That's amazing and completely effing awful at the same time. Konami can eat crap for canceling this instead of throwing resources at it. What? Look. Behind you. I said. Look. Behind. You. This legitimately gives me chills. That demo was traumatizing. Makes it all the more infuriating that it was never released. Scary as it was, I'd have loved to see the entire story. I didn't have a PlayStation, so I could only watch playthroughs of PT on YouTube. It is easily the scariest thing I've ever watched. I dreaded walking through my house in the dark because I'd imagined seeing Lisa standing in my hallway. When Lisa grabbed me for the first time, the breaker flipped and the entire house lost power. Most disturbing and horrifying coincidence ever. I've played a ton of horror games in my time. This is the one that traumatized me. Basically any moment in Alien Isolation. One of the most atmospheric games I've ever played. The game having two AI, one telling the alien the general area of where you are, and the alien AI hunting you, make it terrifying. Because I don't think it'll come at you the same way twice. Exactly. I love the alien's AI so much in this game. It's effing terrifying that it can actually learn your habits and start checking your most frequent hiding places as it looks for you. It what? Right? Like hiding in lockers? That bitch starts checking in lockers. Started hiding under desks? Not for long. Yeah, that's why I stopped playing. I can't handle horror games and it kept talking my safety blankets away. Lol. Welcome to playing a real horror game. It learns, it hunts, and it can hear you through the microphone on the controller. It can what? It had, console versions, the ability to listen to any headset or mic plugged in, to detect noise like you breathing. Oh, panicking a bit much while you hide? It can still hear you. Oh crap. Because crapping your pants in fear just from seeing it wasn't enough. Plot twist, it can smell the crap. Yep. And it also learns what places you like to hide in as the game progresses, making you adapt or die. Their AI for that game is very impressive. I remember feeling my heart drop when it stopped reacting to fire. It had maybe 2 jump scares the entire game through, the rest was pure atmosphere. Depending on what difficulty you are on, there's jump scares every 5 damn seconds. The hardest difficulty is some of the most tense and difficult horror crap I've ever experienced. The alien is genuinely brilliant and F's with you way more on the top difficulty. You will be getting jumped at out of nowhere all the time, and it really adds to the number of jump scares. I came here looking for this answer. It's the only game I've ever had to walk away from multiple times because it's just too tense of an experience. I was playing on the hardest difficulty in my first playthrough, and by some fluke of the universe, I didn't encounter the alien for the first 2/3 or so of the game. By then, I had let my guard down, and it decided to show up in the middle of Mission 13. I screamed when it attacked me, and both of my parents rushed into my room at 1 a.m. thinking someone had broken in. Bioshock, my ex made me play in the dark and I jumped more than I'd care to admit. First time you meet a Houdini splicer after hearing them calling out in the gardens. Hello, I'm so lonely, just lonely. I still have footage of my best friend from school and I screaming in fear BC that Houdini splicer scare. Hello beautiful. In Bioshock Infinite, when you sneak past those creepy boys of silence, then you walk up to a screen, flip some levers and switches, Then you turn around and one is right behind you staring straight at you. I yelled so loud my wife had to check on me. The thing that made it even worse is that, from what I remember, is the only jump scare in the entire game, and it's towards the end, so it just hits way harder. Okay, I have a Bioshock story. In the level with the little sister's orphanage, I was low on health and kept dying. I kept just regenerating and after a while just took the take path to my goal. Except on like the 8th time, I'm running down the same corridor when whack, I just fall and die. Son of a bitch Splicer was hiding in a corner. As I die, he walks up and whisper, "We were waiting for you." That was so effed up. There is one scene and I can't remember anything specific about it. But you are doing something, concentrating heavily and then turn around. And effing Splicer is standing right behind you. I still remember that pants scraper and it's got to be getting close to 15 years now. I think that's the medical ward. I remember looting at some corner and when I turned around it was a disfigured doc. The Splicer that appears suddenly when you take the tonic at the medical ward made jump, scream, turn my computer off and go lay at my yard under the sun. I was just walking around in Skyrim and then a bear roared in my ear randomly for the first time. They purposely amplified the sound effect of the bears to be 100x louder than anything else in the game. It scared the shot out of me. Skyrim moment for me, as well. I was walking along a road at night through the wilderness of Falkreath Hold, near Pinewatch, when this half-naked guy with no apparel was running towards me, yelling, "Is this what you want?" Transforms into a effing werewolf. Completely caught me off guard, I jumped. And then was forced to kill him in self-defense. I still don't know why that happened. Edit, another Skyrim moment, when you are navigating through the back of Castle Vokihar, going through all those poorly lit rooms en route to the Soul Cairn, those stone gargoyles that come to life when you pass by them, crap. That entire trek is like something out of a horror film. The scenery of those abandoned rooms and hallways and cells is absolutely beautiful, and how macabre it is. One of the best examples of game designing I've ever had the privilege to experience. That entire quest line, Dawnguard, is still my favorite to this day. Frustrating thing in Skyrim. Gargoyles are supposed to protect vampires but attack you. You also can't really help other vampires in Skyrim outside of the Vokihar. You also can't marry any pre-existing vampires. You can only marry a limited set of characters and you might be able to turn them, but none of the females are companions. Of course I couldn't allow this to stand. I cheated and turned her into my wife after killing her husband, and made her a companion. I do get a heart attack occasionally though, she will occasionally tell me she's going to murder me. So it's like a real marriage. Skyrim for me too. There's a few dungeons where the Draugr are set back into the walls and they wake as you pass. Being a stealth archer, obviously, my sneak was pretty high, so I woke one up, but I was hidden enough that it didn't trigger the eye and I had no idea, until I turned around and came face to crotch with it. I made a strange whoop sound that I have never recreated to this day, and chucked my controller. Ever try it in VR? I got jumped by some wolves and noped the F out. Haven't picked up the game since. Skyrim VR doesn't do you the courtesy of having enemies run to your front before attacking like most VR titles will. Instead you hear someone shouting and turn around frantically to find a bandit sprinting headlong at you with his axe inches from your face. The frostbite spiders are the only thing stopping me doing so. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.